Anxiety and exhaustion. What is happening in your brain and what to do about it? I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. I'm going to walk you through it. In this video, first and foremost, we're going to cover the anxiety brain pattern. Then we're going to look at the exhaustion and burnout brain pattern. And then I'm going to show you how they are interrelated. Don't forget to stay with me until the end of the video because I'm going to give you one excellent brain tip that you can use immediately to try to back yourself out of that exhaustion pattern so you can feel and perform better today. Okay, let's get started. Let's talk about the anxiety brain pattern. As you can see in this diagram, the anxiety brain pattern is one of excessive fast, extra hot brain speed being used in your brain. That brain speed is called high beta. The way that you can see it on this diagram is that all of the other brain speeds are green, in the green zone, as I call it. High beta is red. Red means that high beta, fast, stressy anxiety mode is being used 3 levels, 3 times more than it should. It should look green on your QEEG brain map, and that means that your brain is in the optimal mode. But when we see it with all this red, it means that that extra fast anxiety mode is cranking away all day long. Now, I call anxiety the anxiety brain pattern. I call it the brain pattern that creates anxiety and perpetuates it, because this brain pattern is one that is self-fulfilling. The more anxiety you have, the more anxious you feel, and the more anxiety you will get. High beta is problem-seeking mode. You will find problems. The key to success is backing this pattern out and getting into problem-solving mode. Now let's talk about the exhaustion brain pattern. If your brain is in a chronically anxious state where it is hyper-aroused, and we know it's hyper-aroused by all of that red speed, and you can see it on this diagram, albeit a little bit of a different one. What you can see on this diagram, you can see absolute power and relative power. So what relative power shows us on a QEEG brain map is that your brain is not only using too much of high beta anxiety mode in terms of absolute power, not compared to anything else, it also shows that your brain is using much too much high beta anxiety mode compared to all the other modes. And what that means is that it is absolutely dominating. So what happens is when high beta is just dominating the electrical energy in your brain, it is driving the bus, as we always say. Then what happens is your brain is in this chronically anxious state with high beta just cranking along most or all of the time. That puts your brain into fatigue or exhaustion or burnout. Now on this diagram, you can see that that shows up as low delta and theta in relative power and high delta in absolute power. So what it shows is that your brain is using too much of sleep mode, and it's difficult for your brain to get to sleep at night when it needs to. So let me explain a little bit further. What it means is that in the day, not only is your brain cranking away with the extra fast speed, it's also becoming more exhausted across the day. So that delta will go up and will stick up on your QEEG brain map because your brain is exhausted. It is too tired. In the day, it's using tired mode and stressed out mode, which is why you feel exhausted. But people tell me all the time that I have brain fog and it's hard for me to remember things. I have to drink caffeine in the afternoon. What your brain needs is not a stimulant. It needs a break. And we're going to talk about that in our brain tip. But what we're seeing on this map is your brain is in anxiety mode, which is causing it to make sleep mode in the day. But now follow me on this for just a second. In relative power, not enough delta and theta means that your brain is moving so fast. There's all that red in high beta that when you go to lay into bed and to go to sleep, your brain has to shift out of high beta, shift into beta, shift into alpha. And when you're in alpha, you're going to feel a lot more relaxed. Then it has to shift into theta when you start feeling groggy. Then it shifts into delta, where you get into sleep mode. It should take you 20 minutes to fall asleep. That is a healthy amount of time for a healthy, regulated brain to fall asleep. What happens for most people is that they have difficulty getting into sleep mode, but they're so tired that the minute their head hits the bed, they are out like a light. So when I say to people, how do you sleep? They're like, well, I fall right asleep. I sleep great. Oh, but then I wake up 3 hours later. You don't sleep great. Your system is completely exhausted because it cannot get the breaks that it needs in the day. It is cranking away with high beta, cranking away with delta exhaustion, pushing through it by using more high beta. That is not a healthy mode. That's going to perpetuate anxiety mode and create burnout mode. That's what we have to avoid. If you're getting value out of my videos, please like and subscribe. Sign up for notifications. Every Monday I send out motivation to get you rocking and rolling for your week. Let's talk about the relationship between anxiety and exhaustion just very clearly by looking at this QEEG brain map one more time. What we see is there's excessive use of high beta anxiety mode. So that's overdrive mode. And what I was starting to say before is that for some people that feels like stress and anxiety. For other people, that can feel great. That can feel good. That can feel like overdrive, like I'm cranking, I'm getting so many things done, right? Guilty as charged sometimes, but thankfully my high beta is regulated these days. But what it can feel like is overdrive mode. So it still becomes very difficult to shift a brain out of overdrive mode. So we see that by all the red and high beta. What that then does is it increases sleepy, exhausted, I'm absolutely beat mode, which is delta, in relative power throughout your day. So, and I think before I accidentally said absolute power, so it is relative power on this map, the second row down, because what it means is anxiety is dominating your pattern relative to all the other speeds, but delta is also very high, meaning your brain is anxious and stressed out in overdrive mode and it's exhausted. Now up in absolute power, there's lower levels of delta and theta, which means when it comes time to go to sleep, it is difficult for your brain to slow down enough to get into sleep and stay into sleep for the night. So stay tuned because I'm going to give you a brain tip so that you can see one way that you can make it so that you can bring your brain down out of that high beta mode more quickly and more effectively so you can get better night's sleep. If you get a better night's sleep, science shows it's the number one thing for you to feel less exhausted in the day. So we're going to talk about that, but at the same time, it's going to help you out immediately in the day. So it's very, very important. Okay, so here's your brain tip for the day. What you need to do is bring that high beta down within your day. Simultaneously, you need to bring alpha up within your day so that your brain can get some recovery time. Now on this graph, this is a graph of my Brain Shift HOME Neurofeedback program that shows you exactly how a brain can change using home neurofeedback. But I'm going to use it as a guide to show you what you can do if you follow some behavioral strategies based on neuroscience and the goal behind it. Because I find when people see the graphs, they understand what we're trying to do. So what you need to do is, if you normally just keep pushing through at 3 o'clock and you feel completely exhausted and your brain's falling asleep, but you just make yourself another cup of coffee and keep motoring through and never give your brain a break throughout the day, what you need to do is, wait for it, it's not rocket science, but it is neuroscience. You need to give your brain a break. Now, the way that you can do that is twofold. Number one, you can just actually take a nap. If you take a nap, delta and theta are going to go up, up, up like they're doing anyways because you're feeling exhausted. But when you close your eyes and you let your brain sleep, it goes up, 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 and you get into sleep mode for a little while, which refreshes them. So when you take a nap, your delta and theta go up, 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 up. But then when you wake up, they come down, 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 down to lower levels because you gave your brain the break that it needed. You gave it the sleep that it needed. But if you're cranking in high beta, and if your high beta is very high, then likely it might be very difficult for you to actually take a nap, but you might be able to, because like we've talked about, if you feel completely exhausted and you're in adrenal fatigue, lay your head down, you just fall right asleep. So you might be able to do that. 20 minutes later, you're refreshed. I would only take a 20-minute nap. That's what science shows. If you go too long, then you're starting to move through the sleep cycle and it'll mess up the rest of your day. Take a nap. Number 2, a great way to refresh your brain is to go do something relaxing. So you've probably heard me in some of my other videos say that, especially in COVID-19 when I'm home all the time, but honestly I've been working from my home office for a while, is I will get work done for an hour or two and then I'll go do some food prep. I crank up some vocal jazz and I chop vegetables. Do you know how much mental energy chopping vegetables takes? Not a lot, especially when you do it as much as I do, feeding a family of 7. Chopping vegetables, my brain comes down. My high beta comes down, or my beta comes down from thinking. My delta and theta comes down because I'm no longer taxing my brain and I'm not pooping it out. Alpha goes up because I'm doing something mindless. And I enjoy cooking, or I've taught myself to over 20 years. So chopping vegetables is totally mindless, and usually I'm working on some recipe for later in the day, which I find relaxing also. So what I've done in the day is I've given my brain a break while I'm still awake to increase my alpha, decrease my high beta, decrease my delta and theta. That's what you can do too. You don't have to chop vegetables if you don't want to. What you can do is go for a walk. Totally proven by science, if you go out in nature and you take a walk, you're going to feel better and refreshed. What you can also do is do something that you enjoy. Get up. If you work at a desk, get up from your desk especially and go do something else somewhere else. That is the key for success. Don't work through your lunch. Take a lunch. That's like the easiest suggestion, because I talk to so many people that don't stop in the day to take lunch. Take a lunchtime. Just eat. Don't look at your phone. Don't put anything into your brain. Don't think. Don't use thinking. That is the key. When you stop using thinking, the betas come down, delta and theta come down, alpha go up, and your brain recovers and refreshes. That is the most important thing. Now, what you see on this graph is high beta and theta, and which is associated with delta, is very high. And then across the days, and this is using brain training, the good old new-fashioned way of using home neurofeedback, across the days, as this client used their home neurofeedback system, they're basically pattern interrupting what I was just talking about. And every day they're using the system to bring high beta down and theta down and to bump up that low beta in the middle. And so what you see is across days, high beta and theta coming down, down, down. Doing that using home neurofeedback is the most powerful way to do it without having to think about it or use your mind and your body to train your brain. But the tip I just gave you is a great start for you to start interrupting the pattern of too much high beta. And it should help you get better night's sleep, especially if you do it more than once in the day. If you do it every hour and 15 minutes, that's what science shows. Every hour and 15 minutes, pattern interrupt the increasing of high beta. And over the course of the day, think of it logically, it's going like this. If you interrupt it over the course of the day, it's going like this, and it will be at lower levels at nighttime, and you will feel more refreshed. If you're interested in having me help you be able to bring your brain online and decrease that anxiety mode, decrease that exhaustion mode so you can feel and perform better in your life, then go to my website at drtrishleigh.com. Check it out, because I offer neuro coaching programs at my website for thebrainandspine.com. I offer full-blown, full-fledged home neurofeedback, and there's also information there about that, because I would absolutely love to help you get your brain in the right spot so that you can go out and reach your full potential doing what you love with a fresh brain. And remember, control your brain, or it will control you.